Hi, welcome to the Sifu Mimi Chan show. Thanks for joining the conversation. Hello, Brian. Lovely to see you as always.
Hello. Thank you.
Gosh. How is the Bendis fam? I mean,
great. My kids just came back to school. Most of my littles have been out of school this entire pandemic, so they're all back in school for the first time in many years, and it's going very well. All the things that a parent would worry about, it has not happened, and in fact, it's just all the kids they're all just really excited to be back at school at an age where you normally wouldn't be.
Right.
So that's interesting. Yeah. So
that's kind of one of the pluses, I guess, coming out of all this crazy. It's like, kids are happy to go to school. We'll take something. We got to take what we can get in this era. But I actually looked up. I was like, it's been 3 years since I actually spoke to you, which is insanity. True? It is true. Wow. And I was like,
All right. Well, that's a lot. A lot has happened in 3 years.
Yeah, we're so overdue. And, I spoke to Matt Fraction, of course, not too long ago, and Kelly Sue. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's been, even for them, it's been over a year. And so I'm going, I haven't talked to Brian. This is crazy.
Oh, okay. So, we'll make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yes. We gotta keep up. So, and a little earlier off air, you were teasing me about your podcast standing here, but please know you are always welcome on this show.
No, the joke was Greg is out of the country, which both you and I would know Greg is out of the country, and then so I'm here clearly standing in for the angry Jewish energy that this podcast needs, and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can get as angry,
Oh, I could rile up with Greg. I get Greg's voices in. Everyone has voices in their head that and some of them are manifested voices of people that Mm-hmm. Greg is a voice in my head. I often cycle through my decision making with what would Greg do? What would this person do? What would that person do? And Greg has often been a good place for me to think about things.
Yes, it's funny.
I told you this years and years ago. There was a night, it was just a weird night. It was 3 a.m, and Twitter turned on me hard, and it was weird. I just checked Twitter, and it was all these real Nazis, and this is pre-Trump, real Nazis really gunning at me, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? And it really was only 30 people, but it feels like the whole world,
I'm sure,
has attacked you, because
30 is quite a bit, though. That's not minimal.
But I'm just giving a context, so it's not a million people. It was a couple dozen people, but they were really laying into me with the Jew stuff, and I was like, hey, what happened? And I reverse engineered, and I found out that I was that day the headline story on one of these Nazi websites that no longer exists. It was called the Daily Caller or something. It was a picture of me with photoshopped horns on my head and very angry at me for having created Riri Williams. That was the Ironheart, which is coming soon to Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And
how dare you?
Yeah, and it was terribly worded headline about Jew writer creates blah blah blah. It was just everything bad, and I was like, what's happening, right? And then I literally texted Greg at 3 a.m. because I'm like, who do I need to talk to about this? I'm being attacked. I'm a Jew being attacked by Nazis. Greg, you up? I literally gave him a you up. And then I sent it to him, and then he wrote back right away. He wrote, Nazis are who should be mad at you, and good, and you're doing the right thing, and fuck them, and blah, blah. I go, that's all I needed to hear. I just needed someone to say, yes, you're right. Not everybody likes you. And if the Nazis don't like you, that's all good.
Exactly.
So that's Greg in my life. That's
I love it. Yeah. We just actually had an episode on what I coined over the last few years as Rucka rants. And I said, he taught me how to rant articulately now, because now I just don't go blah. I've actually learned through his training, on how to rant better. So he is such an inspiration to us all.
He and Lewis Black are merging into one organism of some sort. I don't know. But, he's also a great he comes and teaches our class. Me and David Walker, teacher in Portland. We teach comics writing. He comes there like Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross. He just like brings the thunder. It's amazing.
I love the Portland crew. Like, you all are just the best. And I see that you and David you're practically on tour together at this point.
Well, I may have accidentally bullied him into a couple of friendship. I cashed in some friendships without realizing how close they were together. So I'm very appreciative of him doing that. Yeah, we're doing Powell's on Tuesday, and we're doing some stuff this weekend at Rose City Comic Con. Mm-hmm. So and then we have an OMSI charity event later in the month that we're doing. OMSI is the science center here in Oregon. So.
Nice. Yeah,
so a lot of stuff, and we're teaching on top of it, so that's
exactly. Yeah. Oh, I mean, because you don't have anything else going on.
Well, yeah, I ask my friends to do these events with me. I like to do them, but I do get anxiety about it just being me, and I'm not interested in them. I'm not that interested in it. So, but when I'm there with a friend, with Kelly or Matt or David, or like it's always a better time, and I feel like I'm giving better energy to everyone involved. So, it's all good.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. This is where I'm jealous, and I just kind of wish I lived out there, so that way I could like show up at all the events to cheer everybody on and just
Rose City, get on a plane. Come on.
I know. Well, that's where we first met. And actually you were like, you came, I was like, oh wow, you are doing the kid routes that day. You were just like, everyone was with you. And I think even like Matt's kids were hanging all together. So it looked like you had like 10 kids with you.
Our kids are always together. So it's so it was like 7 of them you had like corralling. So yeah, it was a lot of fun though. So yes, and you're gonna see it again this Saturday when my kids are ready to go. They're
oh my gosh, do they still like cosplay and everything?
Yeah, well, they all have different things that they're into, which is cool. But like I was just at Dragon Con last weekend, and any footage from Dragon Con looks like a party that it's like a conga line that never ends. And so they were like, I was like, Rose City next weekend, even though it's a different kind of energy, but they'll love it. Yeah, but my son is 9, so he's into everything a 9-year-old boy is into, everything on Disney Plus, and my teenage daughters are into all different things, but Stranger Things.
Yes, still Stranger Things. That was still like a thing even a few years ago. Because I remember Tallulah she had like cut the hair and everything.
Well, Tallulah is best friends with Tabitha, my daughter.
Okay.
And Tabitha, it just got old enough to take it all in, so she's full on in on that. So
I love that. And
also, I'm working at Dark Horse now, so I get a lot of Stranger Things comps. So I've opened her door to the extended universe.
The perks of being, Brian's kids there. I love it. Congratulations on everything.
My 9-year-old did. He was on a Zoom with someone he knew during the pandemic, and said, hey, where does your dad keep his million comic books? And the kid's like, what do you mean? And he goes, don't you have a room for your Funko Pops and comic books? And they're like, no. And then that's when my son realized, oh, I live in a crazy person's house. This is what other people don't live like this. So,
what? Now everybody doesn't have this? I don't understand.
What do you mean? Any superhero you can think of? You can't just go upstairs and
your dad hasn't written every superhero from every single verse?
Yes.
How fun is that though? I mean, those are definitely perks. And I was going to say, and speaking of comics, like not just the traditional, because you literally have pretty much, I feel like, written every traditional comic character, but you're just still creating, and just, it's amazing. I thank you for sending me Phenomena. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. How much fun is that?
It's a lot of fun. I always was doing creator-owned comics my whole life. And it's certainly the success of Miles and Riri and Jessica Jones and stuff has allowed me chances to do more. And like, why wouldn't I take them? So I've been allowed some big swings and some big spaces, and we're going to take them and see what happens. But Phenomena is a new book that's coming out this week. It's the first in a series of at least 3 graphic novels we're doing for Abrams, set in a world that isn't apocalyptic. It's something a little more interesting, but something has happened to our world. It has been altered. And slowly but surely over the course of the graphic novels, you find out what happened. But really, it's the story of Bolden and Spike, these 2 friends that journey through this magical world together. And, and with every turn of the page, we find out more about them and this world. And all of it is really a showcase to show off André Lima's beautiful, unbelievable illustration and design work of which all of this was built around. Now, all of it was built just for André to go nuts. And
and I, fortunately I got a little preview and I was just like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on just one panel, on one page. You just have to kind of pay attention. And I'm so curious because you have written so many traditional comic characters and everything. And that's like picking up a story and passing it along and, taking these characters. And you've done, like you said, so much creator, own stuff, but it must be a lot of fun and almost like liberating to just create a new world. I mean, is that daunting or is it just like, let's go?
It's all the emotions. It's all of them. It's the highs are as high as you can get, as far as when you literally find something that you like, oh man, I don't think anyone's done this before, or not like this, or like when you come up with an original take on something. It's very, very exciting, but it also is filled with, does anybody want this? Does anybody care? There's already stuff out there. Like, you go through all the emotions, and all of them are valid. And I was just hearing, like, I was a little listening to Tom Hanks was on a podcast last night, literally saying the exact same thing about how, he's doing all these new things and taking some very big swings as an actor and playing Colonel Tom Parker. And he's like, yeah, because I can. And it's scary. It's always scary. It's never not scary. So that I guess that's it for everybody. And I guess it's never going to be. But when I will say it's scary to write anything, but to write something like original and from your heart, and like you are making it because no one else is and you would like to buy it, and so okay, I'll make it. That's the best of all the feelings. It feels nurturing. Mm-hmm. And again, we were talking a little earlier about people taking these big creative swings in the pandemic because they're home, rethinking everything and going, all right, might as well take a swing. Who knows if we're even going to have a pop culture at the end of this? Who knows, right? Yeah. So having joined my friends and trying to take some swings and to see what else I'm made of is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But in this one, but this one particularly, to get back to André, it was, a lot of collaborations are you're holding hands together and you're both throwing things at it at the same time. In this regard, it was more like writing stuff specifically for André to go nuts. Like it's a script. I wrote a script, but it was based on work he'd already designed. And it was about, how can I prompt him up to do that which he's obviously set up to do, and get out of the way as much as possible, but still tell a fun and exciting story. And when I was a kid, Frank Miller, who was like the most important person in my life, introduced us to a illustrator named Geoff Darrow on a book called Hardboiled. And it was this magnificent, beautifully illustrated book that in itself was an event, an artistic event. And Frank had described how he felt that his job was less a traditional writer and more to set up the situations to let Jeff be Jeff. And I realized that my job here was very similar. Yeah. And I was very excited to try that. So, and just so people know, we're already on book 2 behind the scenes, where we're like knee deep in book 2. So it feels great to be having this book come out while we're making the next one already.
Yeah. And I'm not giving away any spoilers or anything like that. One of my favorite things in comics is especially when, one, it's amazingly written, of course, and the art, but like when there's all these little details in the background. Like I love, like, this is the type of food signs that you see in the vendors. And these are the little random animals or creatures that appear that aren't really part of the story, but are just so interesting. And it's like,
no,
those are the type of panels that you have to read over and over. Like you have to look at it over and over, because if you miss it, right?
Well, all comics are like this, but in their best way, the visuals should be telling the story as much, if not harder, than the word balloons. And with a talent like André, we specifically less word balloons, more story in the design. So all of those little creatures and all of those little signs are actually hints and clues and pieces of the puzzle of what's happened and where we are. And also me going, oh, I could put a word balloon over that, or I could not cover it up and let everyone just enjoy this beautiful artwork. So yeah, so it's you're trying to train the audience, and that's what, like, that big spread in the beginning. It's slow down. This is how we're telling this story. We're where's Waldoing it. So dive on in.
Basically, yeah. And this is where I'm grateful for digital, because you can zoom in on all the pieces and look and explore. And especially if you're doing a take on a city that I've been to, for instance, and like you see semblances of it. And I really, really enjoy that. And I have like zero like drawing artistic talent, so I'm always like in awe of things that are able to evoke so much nostalgia at the same time. When something's like futuristic, it's really an interesting like mix of feelings.
Well, yeah, it is. It's also like, when we're making books, we share files with our peers all the time. So the other artists I'm working with on other books and stuff, I will send like an André spread, and literally it gets the reaction of, come on, man. Like it's like, it's a little upsetting to some of his peers, but it's a good feeling.
I love that. I love that so much. And I've been so grateful because I do get to talk to so many comic creators, and I love hearing about the collaboration process because it's always so unique to everyone. And each project, there's like a unique relationship, right? It's like very, very different. And clearly like this one is just a lot of fun. And I feel like you're almost saying like you get to sit back a little more because it's like, you're like, go.
It's a little more like you're carrying, if I can kill a metaphor, you're carrying like all the trays and all the plates that you've ever owned on a tray, and you can do it. You can get it over to the counter, but and when you get there, it's exciting. But boy, it's really, I hope I make it all the way to the counter. That's what it feels like. It's just, I'm just sure there's something from the electric company where the guy's got the pies going down the stairs. It feels like that. And again, it's. Collaboration can be a very intimate relationship. I used to describe how much it felt like dating used to feel, and but in our post Me Too world where people were taking advantage of that intimacy, but it is a very intimate. You're sharing your soul with someone, like, these are my hopes and dreams, and I want to put them in this world that we can share them together. And it feels very intimate, and it's about supporting your partner and making sure that everyone's getting what they want out of it, and communication, all the things you would do to support and nurture an intimate relationship, no matter what level you're at, you have to do for this. And but yeah, so it does. It feels like you're coming up to someone that you kind of know and go, "Hey, do you want to have a baby?" Like, I know we're friends.
Straight out of the gate.
You want to have a baby that we like raised together forever? That we, So it does and can feel that way. And for other people, it's not that way. They're very, very. It's a job, and they do it, and that's it. But for me and almost everybody I know, it's a relationship that needs to be nurtured and taken well care of. So with André, this is a newer relationship. Like, as I've gotten older, I have nurtured decades-long relationship.
Yes,
with Mac and Mike Oming, Greg Ruck. I've Greg for 25 years, right? Which is amazing. But so there are new people in my life too, like André and Jacob Edgar, who I'm doing the ones with at Dark Horse. And we know each other a little bit, but nowhere near the level of and coming up with someone is very different than meeting them
Right.
During the journey.
When you're already Brian Michael Bendis.
or like, I've learned some things that, and I've learned them with people. I was standing next to David Mack when I learned them. That's a different relationship than with André. So it's nice to, it's nice to open your heart and have new relationships like this as well. And at the same time, selfishly, it's very good for me creatively. I'm stretching myself. I'm out of my comfort zone, so it feels very good. Also, like when you come up with your friends, they know your bullshit, and they can either be the best ones to not let you get away with your bullshit, or the ones that that's his bullshit, let him do his bullshit. And I like with new collaborators, you can have someone go, yeah, it's bullshit. And so it's nice to have people that you can trust that'll call you on your stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's really evident, obviously, in the work too. You can almost see like the fun on the page type of thing, like the way people work together. And I love hearing about that. And I have to say, last time we spoke, I was really mad at myself because we didn't get to talk about powers like at all. And it is like one of my favorite things. And I didn't get to talk to you about it all. And I'm really kind of mad at myself that I didn't get to do a reread before this because, life is always in the way. I can't just sit and read comics all day. I don't understand why my life is like this.
I feel the same way about my Lego kits that are building up.
Oh, we're going to have to talk about that in a second. But I did see on your Substack that there's a crossover and powers, and I'm late to the party on it because I haven't gotten to it. But oh my goodness, like what I read from what you were mentioning and stuff, it sounds amazing, and it just gave me the like, okay, I got to reread this definitely sometime soon.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, what happened was Donnie Cates and Geoff Shaw have a book called Crossover. He called me years ago and said, I want to do a book that is called Crossover, that literally is a crossover of all the indie books and beyond. And basically anybody can get in, and it's basically the superhero universe explodes and falls onto the real world. And I was like, great. And he goes, and I need the powers kids. And I'm like, oh, and I said, okay. And I always try to say, okay, because so many people said yes to us when we were coming up, like the powers in particular, it's filled with cameos of like every independent creator of the time.
Yes,
and they didn't know us. They were just being nice. Like, so I like to pay it forward, particularly with powers, because it was a book that always had that in it. So I was thrilled to say yes. And then it kind of, everyone goes in their pandemic hole. And then it comes out where here come the pages, and they're amazing, and it's great, and it's a Valentine to us. And then they took it even further and said, do you and Mike want to do a scene? Like, do you want to do a power scene in the crossover universe? And of course I had to say yes. Some Mr. Meta, I had to say yes. And it was, for people who don't know, it was, the plot involves that all the comic characters have shown up in the real world, and now someone's murdering all the comic book creators. So Chip Zdarsky's been murdered, and this one's been murdered. And so it's a joke about like, I'm being interrogated by the powers people,
the agents,
and they're telling me who's been murdered, and I react accordingly based on the name of who's been murdered. I won't ruin the joke, but I had to run that joke by some people because it's a little cruel. And so, but it was great because at the time, me and Mike had just finished our graphic novel, The Best Ever, which is our powers, basically our 20th anniversary graphic novel, which at the same time wraps up the Christian Walker saga, which has been going on for decades.
Yes.
So we were able to finish that, feel really good about it. It did really well. Like we're on our second printing at Dark Horse, and then Donnie calls and lets us show off powers to another audience, and it got us a little anxious to do some more powers, and I think we're going to do powers backups in our next creator-owned book that we're doing at Dark Horse.
Oh, I am so happy to hear that.
Because we left the Powers graphic novel at literally a reboot moment. Like, you could literally start the book over now.
Yes.
with a new cast and be ready to go. So, and just so people know, for like in the Powers graphic novel that came out last year, we aged the characters with 20 years. Mm-hmm. So which rarely happens in comics or cartoons where the
they're always the same age.
So we got to experience their growth or lack of their in the book itself, which was a delight for me. Well, I would literally the whole time I was writing it, thinking how in a million years I would have never thought I would have the opportunity to engage with these characters generationally. That's amazing.
Yes.
So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I said, I was like, of course we did the Miles Morales thing. We went through the list of stuff the first time I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got Brian on the show. I got to make sure. And then I was like, I can't believe we never talked about Powers. And it's been like on my list forever because it's so one of my favorite things. I really, really love that. And so I'm really glad it's actually perfect timing since now there's like you said, the 20th anniversary. And then I saw that on your Substack there was like a crossover and I saw the panels and it was hilarious. So I loved it. So
it's a great thing in my life beyond just having the comic that we're really proud of. Like when Mike and I started the book, we were friendly and now we're brothers. Like now we're a family. Like we're as close as you can be. And we've had the experience of Hollywood and making the TV show. And even though the TV show is not the biggest thing in the world, we got to do it. And we got 2 seasons of it. And he got to work on the show with me. And like everything about, we had the whole fantasy baseball experience that you could have creating something with your friend that you could ever have. Yeah. And like, it's just the best. And I pointed out, not in bragging, but I know there's a lot of younger creators that are in somewhere in their process. And I'm like, oh, it's all worth it. Just be a good partner and be kind and communicative, and holy Lord, it'll come back to you 100-fold.
Yes. No, and it's super exciting to like see it all kind of come full circle again and get to relive with the characters. Like you said, it's so rare because we do want to see, it's kind of like the epilogue. We get to see what actually happens versus, okay, now this is just the same character with a different story. I mean, do you have a preference to that? Because you've done pretty much everything at this point. Do you prefer doing like creating from scratch versus picking up Superman or picking up?
There's pluses and minuses to both. I like both. I have benefited greatly from both. Working in a shared universe on any level, whether you're using already created characters or not, is a wonder. Can be, if you're in the right situation and have the right editorial backing, can be an amazing situation. And by that, I mean, you're creating and writing things you may not have thought of if not for this situation. Like there's the things that you're interested in that you would be involved in, but because Reed Richards is smarter than me, I have to think smarter than me, and it takes me down roads that I may be different. And Superman is a perfect example. Being able to write Superman throughout the entire pandemic was mentally healthy. It kept me out of some dark places. And again, that's a gift that someone handed you, and all you have to do is think, what would the best person think and say? That's the answer. It's Superman, right? And so spending all day in these dark days of pandemic thinking, what would the best person think? It's a gift. It's a huge gift. So, and with that comes, people like know what they want from Spider-Man and Superman, and they're coming to you and, oh, it's your turn to write Spider-Man. All right, what do you got, buddy? And if they like it, they will love it. And it's like, I learned like years ago, like it's literally like, it's like writing for Yankees fans. Like they're there no matter, they're there whether you're there or not.
Right.
And if you fuck up, you'll hear about it. And if you don't, they'll cheer louder than anybody. I asked this once on my message board. There were some people like following me around who were very upset with me, and I'm like, well, why are you following me around? Let's go find something else to do. I don't mean it mean, but like, all right, my jam's not your jam, okay? And there's 6 other Spider-Man books. Go go read those, and no hard feelings. And then one of the fans said, "You're not into sports, are you?" And I go, "No." They go, "See, we're Yankees fans." I'm like, "Oh, thank you. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it because I had come from independent comics and creator-owned comics, and everyone who joins you on that journey is very much into the journey, whole heart, all in, right? Like all the behind the scenes stuff, everything. And those are like our most passionate fans and readers, and some who I've carried with me the entire time I've been in comics up until new people that I found today. So so the flip side being when you're doing creator owned, no one's asking for any of this. Nobody knows what you're doing. You're competing with Star Wars and Harry Potter and Marvel and Batman and all the things that are out there that people already like and they've already decided, and they have the machine behind them to keep it in people's minds while you're out there going, "But you're like a my little baby," and so that can be a struggle. But the people that find your work and discover it, as I said earlier, that is one of the deepest, most powerful experiences I'll ever have is when, like, and I'm having a little bit this week. I'm sorry to be a little braggy, but we just put out Phenomena, and here come the reviews, and they don't suck. And it's such a relief. And then I'm hearing from peers that I just sent the book to, who I was kind of nervous to send it to them, because it's a swing, and getting the responses. It's the best. It's the best feeling in the world. And to the point where I'm now free of caring how it does. Like there was I've got enough people got it where I'm like, okay, I'm good. Whatever happens next is great. And that's an amazing feeling. You got to express yourself as cleanly as you can, and then you get the direct response. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm sorry if I'm overly answering this, but It's an enormous question in my life, the mixture of things. But really, I treat everything like it's creator owned. I treat my work for hire like it's creator owned. I think that's why people respond to Miles and the other characters the way they do. It's because I did not treat them like they were a paycheck job. I don't know how to do that. So I treat everything as if, my name's on it. Let's try not to suck today. So that's what you get out of me most thing. And again, it's from doing creator owned first, I learned what it felt like. And I'm like, good, that's what it should feel like no matter what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So I try to capture that wherever it's available.
Yeah. And so what is the nervous Brian like when, and you don't have to share, like, who do you set, what peers is it that gets to review your stuff that you get so nervous about getting that feedback from, or like because I'm guessing there's brutal honesty, and like the people you send it to, are going to actually give you not the pat on the back, like, oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah, no, I benefited greatly even in my early days at Marvel, I can count on Joe to tell me if it sucks. Mm-hmm. That's very nice. Not all editors are up for that challenge. They just want you to get the work done and don't want to deal with the fallout of you being insulted or anything like that. So, which I understand, but you also need to know, hey, can you guys tell me if this sucks? Because a lot more people are going to see it than you, and I would like it not to suck when they see it. So I try to make it clear to everyone who knows me. Yeah, ego ain't part of this until it's out. Like, I have my name's on stuff all the time. I'm okay. I need this not to suck. That's so if I'm missing something, please let me know. So we mentioned earlier, like all our Portland pals, like Matt and Kelly, I work very closely with Matt on other projects as well. And Mike Omen, literally anyone you see that I work with, I can count on them with other projects as well. And we share each other's stuff all the time. And every once in a while, there's a couple projects where I'll save, like, I know Alex Maleev will be the hardest audience on this project. Like, he is not built to like this. So I'll wait to show him that. I'll save, like, who's going to give me the business the most. And again, I think it's, I lucked out so hard in the time that I came into comics, where like I came in with Twitter. So like I kind of figured out like what I need from social media and what I need from my friends, and like, and I'm all in for creative, critique. It's why you put work out in the world. You want the feedback, right? So I'm into not just my friends and people who know what they're doing, but yeah, I put it out there. I would love to hear what you have to say, right? As long as you really read it. And
You're not just
because we do. No, I have people who are furious at me about something I did on Superman, and you can tell from what they're writing to me, they have not read my book and they heard about it.
Right.
And that's okay. Someone on the Chans or something told everyone I killed Lois Lane. Right. Oh. And to this day, people come at me, you kill Lois Lane, motherfucker. And I'm like, all right, so you don't read my work, and I can probably disregard this critique as valid. But it's hard because I would love for you to read it and come back to me with what you're thinking, but sometimes the internet's not the best source for the honest opinion. So I go to everyone, and every once in a while, you know what I do, and it's the most nervous I get is where I will reach out to someone I vaguely know in publishing and go, hi, I know you like this of mine, or someone who like I've had some interaction with, but I'm not friends with them. I go, hey, do you mind? Does this suck? And that's been some of the best feedback I've ever gotten from someone, because it's when someone who, not a stranger, but not someone I'm close with, and they go, oh, he must really need to hear this if he's asking me. And I'll get good feedback. So I highly recommend it to people, because I mean, as I've gotten older, it's getting a little harder to find people who will tell you the truth, and I appreciate that as well. So if you have friends that'll tell you the truth, stick with them.
Yes. Yeah. That's good to know. I want to hear about the Legos.
It's just it was just even pre-pandemic, it was our family stress relief. We love building. My oldest daughter became quite the Lego master. And you can't see behind me here, but in my other, I have another room that's Lego crazy that it would be a little intense. You've seen, I think last time we talked, I had a Lego background. I may have, yeah. This one I just have, you can see there, that is a custom Lego build of the Spider-Verse movie poster.
Yeah.
Miles upside down. I literally went to a Lego store and they had this for display. And I was like, can I buy it? And they're like, oh no, it's just someone made it. We're just displaying. I go, I co-created Miles, and I'm going to gently bully you into giving me this because nobody wants it more than me in the whole world.
Wow.
So I
that is a lot of fun.
Yeah. But it's just a healthy hobby.
Yeah.
Building brick by brick. And it's good headspace when we're there.
Absolutely.
I think the fact that I have so many sets not built speaks to, I must be in a healthy space.
When you build them, you keep them built. You don't break them down, right? There's probably a lot of Lego life in your house.
Yeah, there is. There's a Lego room. Greg has seen it.
Yes.
Yeah. We have a Lego city that is slowly being built piece by piece. It starts with my daughter built the large Taj Mahal set. It's one of the biggest Lego sets, and we put the Beatles in it, and now the Beatles have created the multiverse out of it. So there goes Batman, there goes Doctor Strange. So we have a whole there's a story being told in our Legos. So
I love that. That is so amazing. I noticed
that just having Miles Legos in the world, like having Legos based on our characters, is crazy. Yeah, that is so cool.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I hope I get to see it one day. I noticed you've been doing a lot of conventions, and I was curious, because I didn't ask you straight out, but hopefully, obviously everyone's good. Pandemic was okay for you, and clearly Superman kept you, he literally is hope. So that's kind of fascinating that you kind of shared that. But during the pandemic and everything, there were no conventions, obviously. And I remember I talked to Matt early on about it. He's like, yeah, I think it's going to definitely come back, though. I just don't know what it's going to look like. And so, how has that been like kind of because you were always very involved in conventions early on. And then there's already been iterations of how it's changed over time. And then like, how has it been in these most recent ones?
Well, yeah. So for a pandemic, I did no appearances, and I've also taken years off where I haven't done appearances in the past, and so it's always weird to come back into it, no matter what. But yeah. So this summer, like I went to San Diego for a day, and that was literally because if I hate it, I'm leaving. Like I wasn't sure how much like I could handle. Like it's like San Diego, like. 2007 was a lot. Like I can't imagine what this was, but San Diego, even though there was an outbreak within our community, it seemed to have happened at the bar and not in the convention. The convention was very safe, and they did a very good job keeping everyone's masks on. I mean, literally, we were at a panel, and they came up to us at the panel and went to one of the people, mask on. I'm like, like that. They were like while we're talking, and they were great. So that went well. Highly recommend the Comic-Con Museum has a Spider-Man show going on right now that Ben Saunders put on. I highly recommend it. And then I just came back last weekend. I was at Dragon Con, which I've never actually been a guest of before, and I'm thrilled that I did. I was supposed to do it years ago, and actually my Dragon Con story was in 2016. We were filming Powers in Atlanta, and I get very zen about things until I'm not. And then like I was very zen about, they're making a TV show, and Eddie Izzard just signed on, and we're doing like all these actors just signed on to the show. And then I was in Atlanta and we did the table read. And at the table read, it fucking hit me. It's just, oh my God, we're making a Powers TV show. What the hell is going on? Oh my God. And lo and behold, Kelly Sue was in town for Dragon Con.
Okay.
So and she was literally 2 hotels down from where I was staying. I go, what are you doing? Can I come over? I'm flipping out. She goes, yeah, come over. We're just hanging. And I go into the Dragon Con hotel, and I don't know what I was thinking, because anyone has ever seen footage of Dragon Con, it's like a Deadpool conga line that just doesn't stop. It just goes on and on and on. And literally what I walked into was some kind of Deadpool like Fight Club or something. And there's all kinds of nonsense going on. And I literally, having some low-grade anxiety attack, run into just the pop culture madness. Just
it's in your face.
Yeah. And so that was my first visit to Dragon Con, and I couldn't wait to go back as a professional. So and boy, did they deliver. It was so sweet and lovely. And we did a Spider-Man panel where Birdman, the lawyer, came and gave us the business. It was fantastic. It's everything you want from a convention. Yeah, and everyone was wonderful. And it does have that extra. I'm looking forward to, if it happens this weekend in Rose City, there's this little extra. Everyone's really excited to see each other again. Like everyone's really happy. Like we're here and we're doing it. And even with masks on, we are here, and this is and celebrating everything. So there's genuine extra energy.
Yeah, reunion. It always is a bit of a reunion anyway. But then now I think there's just like this, okay, we're ready to be out and about and everything. And I think I recall, like for you especially, is and in the work for where you're at now, it's like a reunion. But I mean, initially that was how people got noticed at conventions, right? That's how you got your workout. And I think that am I right? Your dad used to take you to conventions. And so like, is there like a nostalgia to like this whole, like where you're at now on the other side of the table type of thing?
Well, that hit early. As soon as they let me be behind the table, like even in indie comics, I'm like, oh, I'm behind the table, like Walt Simonson. You do feel like it's a card table, but you feel like, like some kind of moat or something. And but yeah, it's I early on, like because when I was a kid, Walt Simonson, George Perez, other people were so nice to me. like it's why I'm here, because they were so supportive. Like, I know that's my number one job, that there's someone in the line. So there's someone in the line who's a little me, and they need to hear some nice words today. And they always show up. They always got the little book they've made, and it's very easy to sit down and give them a couple minutes and be Walt Simonson. That's literally the words in my head. I've typed them out. I've typed them publicly. I've embarrassed them publicly with this. But Walt was so nice to me when I was a kid. He literally, the story is, I was a young man in Cleveland. My dad didn't take me to a lot of shows, but it was something he could do with divorced parents. What do you want to do? I want to go to a comic book show. Sure, we'll go to that's something we'll do. So we went to this show, it looked like a small basement show, like you have in any city anywhere. Mm-hmm. And John Tuttleben, the artist of Swamp Thing, was there, and ends up being one of my favorite artists of all time. But at the time, I was young, and he was just starting Swamp Thing with Alan Moore, and that stuff is some of the best art that's ever been in a DC comic. But at the time, it was alarming to me. I was a John Byrne baby. I didn't like this evolved Bernie Wrightston style was beyond my taste at the moment. But to touch his physical artwork, to actually physically touch the art, to see what it really looked like and felt like, was a huge moment for me. And I spent like all afternoon just hassling this young artist with every question my little brain had about stuff. And he was being very nice to me and very cool and answered every question. And my dad said, boy, this convention seems really like lightly attended. There's nobody here, which is one of the reasons I could ask all my questions. There was literally nobody there.
No line.
and so he was stuck with me. And so he goes, oh, well, this is actually the Fallout room. This isn't the main room of the convention. The main room's across the street where Walt Simonson is. And I went, Walt Simonson. And I grabbed all my shit and I ran out of the room. I don't think I said goodbye. I was just like out. Yeah. And so I ran across the street to Walt. Actually, I talked about this in my TED Talk a little bit, and I'm doing a comic book about it as well, so I can embarrass him in all mediums that I can find. But I literally, I believe in my heart, I stormed past his line of people waiting for the Thors to get signed, and ran up to him all sweaty and said, "Hi, my name's Brian. I don't know what I'm doing, and help me." And he stopped what he was doing, and he took me behind the table, sat me down, went through my portfolio, engaged other people about my portfolio. We started having a talk about perspective and artwork and all the things. And whatever he said to me that day, that was it. I was in. I was officially a comic book artist. Nothing was going to stop me. I was all in. And he couldn't have been kinder. And I couldn't wait to walk up to him as an adult and say thank you, which I've been able to do quite a few times, and we work together. But that feeling I had at that convention that Walt gave me, that has carried me all these decades, I now know it's my job to, wherever I can, bring that in, and not that it's going to land that hard on
That's not true.
But you never know.
I think it probably already has at this point. And then I'll be interviewing that person, and they'll give me the Brian Michael Bendis story about how you gave them the time of day.
Well, I appreciate that. I do we teach too. So we get to teach kids and send them on their path on a very structured way. And that I'm excited about Rose City Comic Con, because I get to see a lot of my students. Yes. We've been teaching for 12 years. So we have published students, and students have made it, and students that are just about to hit their moment, and we get to share that and celebrate that with them. It's cool.
Yeah, that is a very satisfying thing, because as a teacher, a lot of times you don't get that instant gratification. And even though I think maybe it's different in comics than here, in martial arts, but they don't always really know what they're learning until years later. And then they go, hey, by the way, in that class I took, and wow. And so sometimes you got to wait literally 10 years, maybe longer, for that gratification as a teacher. But it's so great.
The longer you wait, the better it is. Actually, it's absolutely fabulous to me. I love it. I do think they're similar I'm not, certainly not a martial arts expert in any way, but it's a meditation. It's you're adding into someone's life's energy another purpose that will hopefully make them happy and spiritually enlightened. You know, like all of these things will. So that I think the connection is has more connection there than you might think.
Well, I just meant more that they already know that they're learning from Brian Michael Bendis. And so they may be like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, right? Whereas like I've got like kids in my classroom that are like, I don't care who this person is.
Well, some are aware, like David and I have some wins under our belt, and we kind of like, we go, yeah. And I you know what? I would have loved to have learned from someone who is actively doing that which I want to do, because you're not talking in the abstract. You know, I have some friends that their teacher literally hasn't been doing that for 20 years.
Right.
So things have moved on since the thing you learned 20 years ago. Yeah. So being actively involved in not only the superhero market, but in the independent market and the bookstore market allows both David and I we have a lot of experience to offer a class, because, you know, some of our class, it's interesting. 15 years ago, everyone wanted to grow up in Millar. Then 10 years ago, everyone wanted to grow up to be Brian O'Malley, right? Like there was like everyone wanted to do their version of Scott Pilgrim, right? And then everyone wants to do manga. Like there's and everyone wants to do their webcomic. So there's always like a thing that they're into, and it's not necessarily superhero comics at all. In fact, you know, over the last 8 years, we've always been surprised how little interest they have in not only the superheroes, but in the format that is the general format of comics. They immediately want to get rid of the format. I think Matt actually pointed that out to me, how quickly our students are like not interested in the format. And do we have to do that? Is always the question. And that's very enlightening to me, and I think about it all the time. Yeah. And it also made me not surprised how the industry has shifted in the last few years, because I could see that the artists coming into it had other interests, and that will affect the business, you know? So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we have to wrap up soon, but I'm just curious because, you know, we're both educators. I'm an educator of sorts, right? Like not a traditional one, but I do find that even though I've been doing this for so long and I am active in what I'm doing in the same way in which you're saying, like there's professors out there that might lecture on XYZ, but they're not doing that art or they're not doing that, right? And so as a teacher, what do you feel that you take away as you are also still actively doing? Like, what do you learn? What have you learned, I guess, from that process?
So many things that I could eat up another hour with it, to be honest.
All right, we'll put that on for the next one, part 2.
But to be fair, it sometimes feels selfish. It does. I'm sure you have felt that as well. Like you come away having learned so much, or were reminded of things that were the important things so clearly that you feel like, well, in this transaction, I just came out. I just came. Also, on the basic level, when you're focusing your time and attention, teaching other people the basics of storytelling and the basics of craft, it can help you stay on point with your basics. And sometimes someone who's got a lot of books under the belt, you can really, you know, go into the weeds and forget what you're doing and why you're doing it and who you're doing it for. And having a constant reminder of that basic idea, it has been very helpful. Number 2, yeah, you know what? This one hurts, I'll tell you, is throughout the entire time we've been teaching, when we get to 3-act structure, just to break it down, we'll often use Star Wars episode 4 as like, because that is a perfectly 3-act structured movie and story that everyone has experienced, so everyone can get involved. This last semester, I'm like, hey, let's break down Star Wars episode 4. 40% of the class had not seen it. Why? Old movie.
Oh, my heart.
And they go, oh, I'm gonna see it, but like I'm 19 years old. That movie came out 40 years ago. There's stuff I haven't seen The Matrix yet. And I'm like, and I literally, as soon as they said that, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna put my head down.
My husband and I all the time, he's constantly quoting 80s movies or before. And I'm like, you're talking to kids that have no idea what you're saying right now.
Yeah. So I will say I may have been the last one out of the pool, but because I teach, I have let go of my Ghostbusters references. Even though
there's a new one though.
You can get away with them. They keep it going, but I know I'm making 1984 Ghostbusters references. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Yeah.
I will come be a student in your class so you can make the jokes and you can. I'll get all your references.
And the other one was someone in my class referenced Iron Man 1 as a classic film, and if you're 20, that movie came out 16 years ago,
which is bizarre, right? Because I think of that as like the new era of comic book movies, right?
That's because
like that old. Was a thanks.
We're going to figure it out after we hung up, but this is what we're wrestling with here. Is I knew oldness would reveal itself somehow, and I thought it would be me yelling at Siri, but instead it's revealed itself to be this is the pop culture. So between my students and my children, I am deeply grateful that my pop culture reference is more modern than it absolutely would be without them. So,
100%. And to wrap up, I did also notice that you loved, because literally I brought this up, or maybe he did, but Ed Brubaker spent 30 minutes talking to me about season 1 of Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, can I do season 2?
And then I was like, oh man, I need Brian to do season 2. But of course, I'm bringing it up like 2 minutes into before you probably have to.
You haven't seen season 2 yet?
I have.
Okay. Well, I loved it. Top to bottom loved it. It to a point where like it felt like I literally asked friends, do you guys see Tina Fey and Sting too? And they go, what do you mean? I go, it just feels like the algorithm is giving me everything I like in one show. And like, it's so specifically me that I was wondering if maybe you guys see different people. Like it's like some kind of magic algorithm show that just gives you whatever you want.
I am like Martin Short any day of the week, like, and Steve Martin, of course. But like, I mean, since Three Amigos to now, like my husband and I quote Three Amigos probably on a daily basis. And this goes back to our like quoting thing. And it's like, people never know what the heck we're talking about. So just them is magic.
But isn't it beautiful? I'm a giant Steve Martin, the writer fan. I've been a fan of his writing forever. And every 10 years, Steve Martin rolls up his sleeves and belts one out of the park as a writer. He's like,
now I've decided again. Here I go.
The Picasso play, if you've ever read it, it's go. You can get it online. It is such a fun read. It's Einstein and Picasso had met once in a bar, and he did a play about it, and it's wonderful. And he also wrote a book called Still Standing Up, which is everything that happened to him until he became crazy famous. For all, like, it's about how he was doing the same act for 7 years, and then one day it was to a stadium. Like what the hell? Like, so that journey is amazing. So for him, Steve Martin, to be looking at his friend Martin Short and knowing exactly what's funny about Martin Short and what other people have missed, and like you can only capture it on talk shows sometimes. Like, and for him to like find a character and specifically craft it to that really dry thing that he does now is it's so wonderful to watch. And I know it's like we do that as collaborators. Like, I'm going to write something for my friend and they're going to kick ass on this because this is written for them. And that, so to feel that in that show is amazing. And also I'm having worked in genre my whole life, we're watching genre fall apart on us in the best way. Like, it's all going away. I'm so excited about it. Like Barry and Only Murders in the Building and the After Party, and like murder comedy is a genre now, and it's my favorite. I absolutely love it. I also will tell you, there's another show. There's 2 other shows I love equally. To Only Murders in the Building that I discovered recently. One is called The Bear on FX.
The cooking.
Hulu. Have you seen it?
I haven't. It's on my.
It is not about cooking. They are cooking, but that is not what that show's about. It is. Oh my God.
Yeah. So people said they love it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got the energy of Uncut Gems, which is like this anxious comedic energy that like someone might die right now. Like it's really a dangerous energy, and I absolutely love it. I can't recommend it higher. Okay. And then there's another show on FX called The Old Man, starring Jeff Bridges.
Oh, and that is on
that's
my
another
list.
one. I don't want to spoil anything, but if I told you what's special about it, you go, "Oh, I'd watch that in a second." But I want everyone to have the experience I had, which is, "Ooh, I didn't know that's what this show was," and it's great.
Yeah. So, because I actually interviewed Rich Ting, who's in that with him. And so I'm like, I have to support. I want to make sure I watch all that. But it's just, there's so many things to see.
There is. I have friends whose shows I have not watched yet. It just, I will get to them. It's just, there's so much.
You've been watching, what's it called? Paper Girls or
no, I like Paper Girls a lot. Yes, yeah. I'm a Brian and I came up together.
Yes, I am aware.
I was a chair. So I've been a fan a long time and celebrate him on every level. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if he's one of the friends that you hadn't caught their show or something.
No. He's someone I admire a great deal.
Yes.
But there's a lot. Like I haven't dug into The Boys yet. That's one.
The Boys. Yes.
Literally the next on my list. And it's only because I was doing so much superhero stuff at the moment. When I take my breaks, I need another genre.
Yes. No, 100%. No, it's kind of funny because I literally stalked Brian for about 4 years and I finally got him on this podcast. And it was like, I have a lot of questions for you, but he was lovely. It was good. But
he posted recently a magazine cover. It's on his Instagram. It's called Northern Ohio Live. It's like the local Cleveland magazine. And we have them here in Oregon too. And it was a comic. It was me and Backdurf who ended up doing My Friend Dahmer, and the guy who did Funky Winkerbean, and it was the weird comic book crew of Cleveland at the moment, and they had us all on the cover together. And Brian K. Vaughan was hired to interview me, and we didn't know each other at all. And he calls me, we're talking, and I was doing a black and white comic for Caliber Comics. I'm as indie can get. No one knows who I am. No one knows what I'm doing. I'm selling 600 copies of a comic. And nobody cares. We're talking, and Brian, in the least arrogant way you could possibly, says, "It's weird that I'm interviewing you." And I go, "Why?" And he goes, I go, "Why? What do you do?" And he goes, "Well, I'm writing Batman." And I'm like, I should be. Yeah, you're right. That doesn't make any sense at all. You're absolutely correct.
Oh my gosh,
I've been celebrating Brian from day one. Yeah.
I love that. And he also actually funny. He talked about Ed Brubaker because that's his arch nemesis, and he's like, God, I wish he would write something that sucks. I'm with Brian on that. You guys are on that same team. Okay, got it.
Yeah. No, well, me and Ed broke in the same day together at Caliber Comics. We were at a Caliber Comics.
Okay.
And watching Ed. And Ed's always been everywhere I am, Ed's there too.
Yeah.
And then Ed leaves, and I always go, "Why did Ed leave?" And he was always right to leave. He left Caliber, and Caliber fell apart. He was completely right. And then he left Marvel. I probably should have left Marvel when he left Marvel too. It was time to go. But I was like, "What were you doing?" Yeah. So. Yeah,
that's Ed. But I just thought you would love that whole Only Murders in the Building connectivity, because I was like, oh my God, season 2. And I love that you love it too. And I will let you go because I know now you're starting your work. This is your work hour, which is the night.
Well, I'm going to
still nocturnal.
My son's finishing up his nighttime routine, and then I think we got some Call of Duty zombies to murder. That's
nice.
And then I'll get to work.
And then you get to work. Well, that's family time. So that's wind down time. And I played COD Modern Warfare. That's how long ago since I've ever played any sort of first-person shooter.
We're playing Black Ops 2. We're in the old They now give you all the zombie maps. So we're just zombie maps.
Oh, how fun. Yeah. I can't play anymore. My hands don't do, I just have lost it. I've lost it. So I'm, but that's a lot of fun.
You don't play any games? You don't game on anything?
No more gaming.
I think it's like Cyberpunk. It's pretty good.
I will take I don't even have a console anymore. So.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. In all honesty, I think I looked at the number of hours I spent on Xbox and I got depressed at the time. Like my husband and I were gaming a lot, like every night. That was our release. And I think there's definitely validity to it, but I was like, I could have probably learned another language or something. I could, like I felt like a little bit, oh, wow, that many, it was like days, because they tell you how many hours you've been on and it's, or days.
I don't like when they do that. And I don't know why they do that because it always makes me feel like I've done something wrong.
Right.
Like my phone always goes, your screen time's up 7%. I'm like, well, don't tell me that. I don't need the math. Come on.
Yeah, no math. There should be no math here. But Brian, it is always lovely to catch up with you. I really appreciate it, knowing that you've got all this stuff coming up this weekend. And like you said, it's been a busy week with the kids. I really appreciate your time. And it's always fun to catch up. We're not going to make it 3 years, though. Like I am going to put it on my calendar.
I'm sorry.
Call you again.
I literally thought we did this last year, and I would love to do it again.
You know why? We reached out because I think I wanted to have you on for one of the con things I was doing virtually, but the timing just didn't work out. So,
okay.
But we've been in touch. Like I send holiday things and, so you don't forget me.
No, feel free to let me know if there's stuff like that pops up. And if I can do it, I'm there.
I know you're lovely. So this has been so much fun. And hopefully we'll talk again soon. Say hi to your family.
Thank you. Yours too.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/Sifu Mimi Chan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.